With the lack of offseason, the lack of offseason in general, all the injuries that you sustained throughout the season, and now you lose your $60 million quarterback to a hamstring injury that might put him on IR. Is it time to tank? Let's talk about it.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take Cowboys.
Throws back of the end zone. There's CeeDee
What's going on, everybody? Cowboy C3. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Got a lot of new, I guess, Cowboy news. I don't know if you really call it news, just Cowboy drama, regular everyday Cowboy business. If you if you really think about it. So, game on Sunday, your quarterback sustained a hamstring injury that they are saying that is severe enough to where he may go on the IR for, so he'll be out, at least till week 12. I've had hamstring things before, and I know the hamstring can be kind of painful, but after reading about it, they're saying that a part of it may be torn from the bone. He's going to have a second opinion, and that would put him out for more than 4 weeks. So they would just place him on injured reserve. So your quarterback's out. Your wide receiver has a shoulder injury where they really haven't said what happened. I think they said a partial AC separation. Right now, you're down 4 defensive ends. Sam Williams in training camp, Marshawn Nealon, Micah Parsons, who may come back this week. He was a limited participant in practice today. And DeMarcus Lawrence, who still is out with a Lance Frank injury and no set timetable for his return. Your corner last year that set the NFL record for most pick sixes hasn't even practiced this year yet. And we're going on week 9. And all this is going on before Philly week. And you should be excited about Philly week. This is Philly week. This is probably, one of the biggest, if not the biggest rivalry that the Cowboys have. And I'm not even going to talk about Philly today. I'm just going to talk about the state of the Cowboys and what the Cowboys may be able to do going forward. Well, the answer to that question is you trade a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo, a former 2nd-round draft pick of the Carolina Panthers who couldn't break the roster in Carolina. He lost his job to an undrafted free agent in Carolina. In his NFL career, 2 years total, he's caught 48 passes. He also, last year, route running and separation, according to his PFF grade, he was number 126 out of 126 wide receivers. He does have good size. He's 6'1", 6'3", 220 pounds, which is something that the Cowboys don't have. He runs a 4.4 40. The only reason that I could see that you make this trade is because you had a high draft grade on him a couple of years ago. And maybe this is, something that you feel like as an organization that your situation is better than Carolina's. How? I have no idea. We're down to our second quarterback, and a lot of people, and you traded a 4th-round pick last year for a quarterback that hasn't even broke the roster yet. So he's on the roster now. He is your backup now. Trey Lance is now your backup. That was your 4th-round pick last year. Your 4th-round pick this year your 4th-round pick for next draft can't even break the lineup in Carolina. Lost his job. He was down to the 6th wide receiver on that team, and they traded him for a 4th-round pick. To put that in perspective, I don't know how many of you guys watched the Kansas City Chiefs play Thursday night. They played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and DeAndre Hopkins looked like an all-pro wide receiver. Well, DeAndre Hopkins went from Tennessee to Kansas City before the trade deadline for a 5th-round pick. Just let that sink in for a second. A 5th-round pick. Amari Cooper just went to Buffalo for a 3rd-round pick. Somebody that you let go for a 6th-round pick. I really don't know what's going on with the organization. And the only logical explanation that I can come up with is a full-blown tank. It's the only thing that makes sense, right? Your quarterback's out, and your quarterback's out because you're not protecting him. You have a $60 million investment that you are not protecting. And, he hasn't had a good year. And everybody knows that I'm a Dak Prescott fan, but I'm call a spade a spade. He's been ass this year. He really has. And if you look at the situation, and you're just honest with yourself, and if you were honest with yourself from the beginning and you were honest with the situation, first of all, paying Dak $60 million is not going to make him Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to do it. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Dak is a quarterback that can manage a football game for you. He may be able to win you some games. He definitely has to have some support. Every quarterback has to have support. There are very few quarterbacks in the NFL that are operating with one wide receiver. I've known of one quarterback in NFL history that has operated with one wide receiver consistently, and that was Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He's the only one I've ever seen do it. And him and Devontae Adams were on a totally different level. CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott are very, very good together. As long as they have training camp and they do some work together, they're very, very good together. But let's be honest, they are not prime Aaron Rodgers and prime Devontae Adams. That's not what they are. It's not. So you pay both of them. You pay them late, right? So you don't have any salary cap space until literally the first game of the season. All of a sudden you got $26 million. $26.7 million is the exact number that they have right now in salary cap space. $26,700,000. When you were going into the offseason, you were riding around with like $9 or $10 million. That's why you only got Eric Kendricks. So that's a bad business decision right there. Should have signed him in the summer. You probably could have got him for less money. Possibly, right? But if you were going to sign him for $60 million and $34 million, why the hell did you wait till right before the first game of the season? You should have just done it during the summertime, got it over with, opened up some salary cap space. Your offensive line experiment is not working. The main reason that your offensive line experiment is not working is not because of the rookies, though. It's because of the right side of your offensive line. Father Time is undefeated. Father Time has hit Zach Martin hard. That's the way it is. It happens. It happens to every single NFL player. It's just his drop-off was like a cliff. A lot of times it's a gradual drop-off. Last year, Zach Martin was still pretty good. I'm almost for certain that he made the Pro Bowl. This year, he just fell off a cliff. It's not working for him. Say he's got a bad shoulder, a bad back. That's true. If that's true, right, then that would explain some of the things that are happening. But there's a lot of, like, Zach Martin went a long time where he had more Pro Bowls than holding penalties in his NFL career. And that's just not the case anymore. He's getting beat, right? Terrence Steele, although today he did alter his salary, to make some room for next year. I think he cut like $4 million off his salary a season, which is great because he should have given back his whole salary for this year. And I'm just being totally honest. I'm not trying to be a bad guy, whatever you want to call it, an asshole, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not trying to be that right now, but I'm calling it like I see it. He's been ass, right? So your entire right side of your offensive line has been bad, right? Your center is a rookie. Your left guard has been Tyler Smith, but even he's faltered this year. Your left tackle is another rookie, Tyler Guyton. He hasn't had the greatest year. You got your number 2 receiver is out with an infection in his knee, and he's just now getting back into practice, but he was out for several weeks with an infection in his knee. You're starting wide receiver because he's targeted so much and double covered so much and is taking a beating this year. He lands on his shoulder, separates his shoulder. Your quarterback is not protected. He's been getting hit all season. He finally decides to run, and then he tears the bone off the hamstring, right? All of your defensive ends are gone. Your starting corner, we haven't seen him yet. We haven't even seen him practice. You miss your middle linebacker for a couple. This team is just constructed poorly, right? And it all falls on the front office. Mike McCarthy has probably lost control of his locker room. And I'm just going to read the injury report for you today. Nick Vigil, middle linebacker, foot, did not participate. Wanye Thomas, safety, concussion, did not participate. Quarterback Dak Prescott, hamstring, did not participate. Michael Parsons, ankle, limited participant. Zach Martin, shoulder, did not participate. CeeDee Lamb, shoulder, did not participate. Eric Kendricks, shoulder, did not participate. Linval Joseph, back, full participant. Tyler Guyton, neck and shoulder, limited participant. Trayvon Diggs, calf, limited participant. Kalen Carson, shoulder, full participant. Deron Bland, foot, did not participate. That's your injury report for this team. There's frustrations on both sides of the ball. The experiment is not working. What do you do next? There's a possibility that you can open up almost $100 million in cap space and start working on next season right now. Everybody keeps talking about CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott are going to take up, 46% of your salary cap space for next year. Salary cap goes up to like $287 million next year. So your salary cap space with Dak and CeeDee Lamb is going to be more like around 40%, somewhere around there, right? If you sign Micah Parsons to this major deal, and I'm not even so sure that you should do that, right? It takes you up to about 46%. If you go and do a little bit of homework and just check the free agency list for next year, there's some very, very big names on the free agency list for 2025. Zach Martin's probably going to call it quits, right? You cut Terrence Steele. If you cut him, I think before February 1st, he does not go against your salary cap next year. You cut him. Everybody else on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary, and I'm talking about with the exception of Osi Odighizuwa, that's the only person. If you want to keep Mozzie Smith because you wasted a first-round draft pick on him so far, that's what it looks like. If you want to keep him, that's fine. Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland. Deron Bland is due for a contract, I believe, not next year, but the year after that. You've already signed Trayvon Diggs. He's there. Those two safeties, Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker, they both got to go. On the offensive side of the ball, Brandon Cooks has got to go. Tyler Guyton, it's Tyler Guyton. He's going to stay. The one constant that you have on your offensive line is Tyler Smith. Right side of the offensive line, like I said, Zach Martin retires. Tyler Guyton, not Tyler Guyton, but Terrence Steele, he's got to go away. Gut it. Everybody in your running back room got to go. That clears you about $100 million to start this season completely over and build the team from scratch. Now, you are going to have to budget yourself. Listen, there are people, you have to play it cheap because you're going to have 3 players that take up about 46% of your cap space. You have to play this cheap, right? But there are quality players that come at not a premium price. And just because you're the Dallas Cowboys and you got this big star on the side of your helmet does not mean that you have to go out and break your pocketbook every single time for a player like Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo is not worth a 4th round pick. He's probably worth a 6th round pick, if that. You've already wasted a 4th round pick on Trey Lance. You have an undrafted free agent starting at quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys right now. Your guy that you picked up last year for a fourth round pick that you could have got a running back for this draft, right? He's the backup quarterback. Now, they say they're going to use him. And I think it would be very beneficial to use him because the way that this offensive line is working right now, Cooper Rush is not safe. He's not safe. He's more mobile than Dak, but he's not that mobile. He's really not. If he's more mobile than Dak, he's about this much more mobile than Dak. His throws, if you watch how Cooper Rush plays the game, and I'm not knocking Cooper Rush at all because first of all, he's 5-1 as a starting quarterback in NFL. And that's saying something. 6 games, you're a 5-1 player. But in your loss, you threw 3 picks. You threw 3 first half picks. Every single game that he won last year, Tony Pollard rushed for at least 90 yards. They had a running game last year. You don't have that luxury this year. But he looked really good against Atlanta in the last quarter of the game. Sure he did. Not taking that away from him at all. Matter of fact, he threw CeeDee Lamb an excellent pass, but CeeDee Lamb couldn't get his hands up to get the ball because his shoulder was hurting. He also threw Kevontae Turpin a really good pass too, and Kevontae Turpin dropped it. That's the second deep ball he's dropped in the last 2 weeks, which is kind of making me change my mind about lining up Kevontae Turpin in the slot and running him up the seam. However, should have thrown through 2 picks, had the ball bounce off a defender's hands twice while he was playing, and every throw is an anticipated throw. He looks at the line of scrimmage, he looks at the defense, he reads the defense from there, and he makes 1 throw. That's what he's making. And he's really, really good at kind of guessing which way the defense is going to flow and putting the ball in a certain spot. If you watch him play, there's not a lot of zip on the ball. Eagles are very opportunistic defense, and we'll talk about the Eagles more on Saturday. I'm not even trying to talk about that game right now. I'm just trying to talk about the Cowboys. One thing that Trey Lance brings you is he brings you 6'4", 230 pounds, 4.5 40 read option. He can run. Now, I believe with Rico Dowdle and Trey Lance, that is an absolute terror to have to deal with other defenses in the red zone. 50-50, 20-20, not so much. But once you get inside the 20-yard line, that's a lot to deal with. And now's an opportunity for you to check and see what your 4th round draft pick, because that's what you used to get him, what your 4th round draft pick for last year's draft can do for you. But keep this in mind. The last time he played in a regular season football game and he came in the game and people were running design runs for him, he broke his ankle when he played for San Francisco. That's what happened to him, right? They didn't protect him. I told you this a couple of weeks ago. I told everybody this a couple of weeks ago about Dak Prescott. Having Dak Prescott playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys these days is like having you buy yourself a brand new $1 million house with all the bells and whistles on the inside of it. It's beautiful, marble floors, spiral staircases, gold plated sinks, whatever you want in this house. This house is beautiful, and then you don't put no windows in it. You just leave it open to the elements. That's what it's like. You look at how the Kansas City, and I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs right now because they're the best team in football. They're winning Super Bowls. Or we can go with the second best team in football. We can go with the Detroit Lions. We'll go with Kansas City. They signed their quarterback for a 10-year, $500 million contract where he's making $50 million a year, right? For 10 years. And I want to say like $410 million of that money is guaranteed. It's a lot of money that's guaranteed on that contract. Anytime anything happens to that team where it feels like it may be a detriment to them moving forward in their Super Bowl quest this year as well, right? They fix it right away. Right away. Starting wide receiver gets hurt, you go get another one. Starting running back gets hurt, you go get another one. A couple years ago, offensive line wasn't doing good, traded for offensive linemen in the middle of the season. Whatever it takes to win, that's what they do. And they're getting quality players for not a lot of money. What's the difference? Well, the biggest difference is they have a general manager and a coach that are dedicated to winning. And they got an owner that stays the hell out of the way. That's the biggest difference. Andy Reid is a mastermind of a head coach. To me, he's a better head coach than Bill Belichick. That's my personal opinion. Because every single time Andy Reid has had a quarterback, could have been Michael Vick. When Kevin Kolb got hurt, a few years back, Kevin Kolb got hurt. Enter Michael Vick. Michael Vick comes in, starts the rest of that season, and starts the next season, and throws for 4,000 yards. Best passing yardage in the season for his career. Donovan McNabb, a lot like Dak Prescott. They went to the NFC Championship game, went to a couple Super Bowl games, went to a Super Bowl game, couple NFC Championship games, and a Super Bowl game. Couldn't win. T.O. had a broken leg, played with a broken leg. He goes to Kansas City. He has Alex Smith, who's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. They go to the playoffs. They do things with that. Come in, bring in Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a special talent. Everybody knew that coming out of Texas Tech. Everybody knew he was special, right? Let him fall down to the 19th pick. You pick up Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes throws an excellent intermediate and deep ball. So what do? You go get 4-3 fly boys, and you run an offense like that, and you get a constant in the middle of the field. Worked with Tyreek Hill. Worked out perfect. Got a ring, right? Didn't work after that. So what do? You turn into a running team. Had a decent defense before. Now that defense is just solid. All the way around, solid. And they win football games. Every week they find a way how to win. Patrick Mahomes showed you on Thursday night, he can play like shit for 3 quarters and come back in the fourth quarter when it counts and win you a football game. That's what it is. Did you see Baker Mayfield's reaction when they won the coin toss? First thing he did was, oh, shit. It's for a reason, right? It's because his coaching staff and his general manager have put him in position to win every single year he's been the quarterback. You got to have 3 things to be a successful football team. You have to. You got to have quality coaching, right? You have to have a GM that your coach and the GM are working in tune. You get me what I need to win, and I'll get it for you, right? Sports team. No, they can't. You're absolutely right. General manager and a coach that coincide together, and they win. And 3 is you got to have a hungry football team. You have to have that. The Cowboys have not had these 3 things in succession, right? You have to have all 3 of them at the same time. Simultaneously, you have to have these 3 things. The Cowboys have not had these 3 things since 1994. 5. Since Jimmy left. 96, they won a Super Bowl with Barry Switzer, but that's Jimmy's team. We all know that. That's why Jerry still feels the way that he does, because the year after he fired Jimmy, they still won a Super Bowl. But everybody was like, that's Jimmy's team. That's Jimmy's team. That's Jimmy's team. Since that day, the Cowboys have not been good. They haven't. They play excellent regular season football. Chess and checkers. Chess and checkers. Regular season is checkers. You moving, flying around the board. You're doing all types of things. I'm knocking your pieces off the board. I'm doing all sorts of things. But it's a simple game, right? Once it starts to get more complex, you have to have a coaching staff, one, that can deal with the complexity of the game. It's for keeps. There's no next week. We can't work on this in practice and fix it next week. We're playing for keeps, right? We are. The other team is playing the same way. And there's some excellent chess players in the NFL. And you have to battle those chess players every week in the playoffs. Every week you're going to find a chess player, right? And they're going to come out and do some things that you're probably not accustomed to or that they didn't do in the regular season. So you have to make adjustments to that, right? And then you have to come out with a better game plan at halftime and come up with a strategy to win. Mike McCarthy don't even know when to use timeouts. He don't even know when to challenge plays. On a 4th and 1, last week, we run a damn jet sweep to CeeDee Lamb, and you got Hunter Lemke in the backfield. And you got a 240-pound unit at quarterback, and you can just run a quarterback sneak, get the first down, and keep pushing. We've seen it time and time again. And it's not just Mike McCarthy. It's every single coach that has been here since Jimmy left, except for Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells came in here, took a shitty team to the playoffs, lost to Carolina, and came back and was like, okay, you see what I can do. I can take your shitty team and I can win you football games. Give me control of the team, and I promise you I will bring you a Super Bowl. I'm not giving you control of nothing. Well, I'm out. And that is the story of the Dallas Cowboys. Look, I get it. This was your dream. This was your dream to own a football team. And the very first thing that Jerry Jones said when he took over for the Dallas Cowboys was there is no substitution for winning. We will win. Where did that dude go? Where'd he go? This is like the third episode we've had where it's been like the I Hate Jerry show. And I personally don't. I love the Dallas Cowboys more than anything. I am a Cowboy fan through and through. But us as fans, right? We want to see a winner. That's all we want to see. And until the front office can get out of their own way, step back, put some football people in position to win and make this team a winner, this is the results that we're going to have. And the wheels are falling off now, and everything is flying right back into their faces. It is. And it's unfortunate, right? Because we were fed a bunch of smoke and mirrors that said that this team could be successful. This team will win football games. We are going to worry about what we're going to do in the playoffs. We're not even worried about the regular season because we are going to make it through the regular season. Won't be no playoffs this year. It won't be. So what do? Do you tank it? I mean, right now, the way that they're playing football, if you go out there to win, you still gonna lose. So you gonna tank it. Bring a quality coaching staff in. Bring you some quality players in. They don't have to be superstars. They don't have to be big names. You have to draft well. You're down again in your 4th round pick, which means you need to take a running back in the first 2 rounds. Is it too high? Yeah, probably. But you don't have a choice. You need to draft some offensive linemen. You're going to need a right guard for next year. You're going to have it. You have a right tackle. If you take Tyler Guyton and move him from left tackle to right tackle, which is his natural position, I promise you'll have a better player. You will. You move TJ Bass to left guard. You move Tyler Smith to left tackle. You find yourself a right guard. And I believe your offensive line will be 10 times better than it is this year. There's some free agent wide receivers that'll be out next year. All you have to do is go look at the list of free agent wide receivers. There's some free agent wide receivers that you can get 2 of them that will be affordable. They will be. You can draft a running back in the first couple of rounds, and you can get another running back, a quality backup running back in a round, right? I truly believe that Chuba Hubbard will be a free agent next year. That would be a hell of a 1-2 punch if you get Genty from Boise State and Chuba Hubbard. You have a pretty good backfield. And you go find defensive linemen, young, hungry defensive linemen that want to play football, get after running backs, and go chase a quarterback. You're going to have DeMarcus Lawrence. You're going to have DeMarcus Ware next year. If this foot thing isn't bad enough to where he has to call it quits. Right? I believe your linebacking core is pretty good. Your corners aren't bad. Trayvon Diggs will be a year removed from the surgery next year. I believe he'll play better. He hasn't been fantastic this year, but he hasn't been horrible. He's looked horrible at times, but he's looked pretty good at times. You see flashes of it coming through. He's just getting more comfortable on his wheels. Your safeties have to go. Both of them. They got to go. One thing that you never see with the Cowboys is you'll see a running back come through a wide open hole. You never see a safety come down and just smash somebody. Donovan Wilson used to do it. Not anymore. He'll come up and hit a running back, and you'll be like, damn, that was a great hit. And then you look up and it's 14 yards down the field. Look just like Jalen Smith did years ago, celebrating on 12-yard runs after he made a tackle. It's not what you need. That's the only way you can fix this football team. If you keep revolving head coaches in here that don't mean anything. I called Brian Johnson last episode. My apologies. Coach like Ben Johnson, excuse me. Coach like Ben Johnson. Bring him in. Let him choose his own coaching staff. Stay out of the way. Let him choose his own coaching staff and run this team accordingly. He'll bring that attitude from Detroit. He'll bring it here. And that's the type of team that you need. You need a young team, a hungry team that's not afraid to go out here and get dirty and win football games. He has drawn up an excellent offense in Detroit. Excellent offense in Detroit. They are hard to beat. Them versus Kansas City right now would be you could put that on as a damn pay-per-view event. That would be an excellent football game. Excellent. And I hope we don't get it to the Super Bowl. Excellent football game. And it's because you have two organizations that are hungry to win football games. They ain't worried about landing no damn helicopters on no practice fields. They ain't worried about none of that shit. The only thing that they worried about is coming out and winning football games. That's it. And if we get injured, we got enough depth to put somebody in and hold down the fort till that player gets back. That is the only way to fix this football team. So do we tank? Yeah, we tank. We already tanking. We didn't tank since week 2. Tank it. And the driver of the tank is your owner. Let him drive it. He wants to be the face of the franchise. Let him drive the tank. What good is Jonathan Mingo going to do you? Even if you have a high draft grade on him, you're in week 9. He won't learn the playbook till week 12, week 13. That gives you 4 games to see what he can do. You're not going to see what he can do till training camp next year. He's got to be on the roster next year because you wasted a 4th-round pick on him. And it couldn't be a waste. I could be totally wrong, but I don't think so. He had opportunities in Carolina. Didn't pan out. Maybe he didn't have a quarterback that could get him the ball. Our quarterbacks haven't done good getting people the ball either. Because they kind of had the same issues there that we do here. No offensive line. They have a better running game than we have. And it's starting to show. And you can tell now that everybody's getting healthy over there. Bryce Young is starting to play better, everything. They're starting to win football games. Play them in a couple weeks. That ain't no guaranteed win no more. Now with this team, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I feel like, the wool was kind of thrown over our eyes. It's all good. What do? We recover for it and we move forward, right? That's the only thing we can do. Cowboys have a humongous game coming up. Is it a winnable game? Probably not. But you go out there and you play hard and you just see what happens. Mix in some things you haven't done before. Haven't seen Cooper Rush in a while, right? He looked pretty good in this last outing he had for a quarter. He looked pretty good. He threw a touchdown pass, right? Now, sure, Atlanta was in a soft prevent. They were only rushing 4. That's all they were doing. Not really trying to put pressure on him. They felt like they had the game won. And we were onside kick away again, just like the last time we played Atlanta, except this time we didn't get it. I can promise you that Philly's not going to be in a soft prevent. I promise you that. And one thing Philly does well is they run the ball extremely well. Have you seen this dude? This dude is hurdling dudes backwards. This is another cat that you could have had on this football team. And if you would have played your cards right, you could have afforded him. It's 2 absolute animals that play running back, one in your division and one with a team that you played earlier this year that you could have had on this roster. And if you would have made the correct moves, you could have had them. And these are mainstay running backs, especially in Philly, because I think he's only 27 years old. You still got a solid 3-4 years left in him. As long as you can keep him healthy, right? In New York, he probably would have been done 2 years from now. But in Philly, they have weapons. They have 2 good receivers. They have a good tight end. They got a decent quarterback, and now they got this dude. And the offensive line blocks pretty well. Lane Johnson ain't there. No, excuse me, not Lane Johnson. Kelsey not there anymore. So maybe it's not as good as it used to be, right? But it's pretty good. And they learned if they run the ball, it kind of protects the discrepancies that they have in their defense, right? But if you keep the other offense on the sideline long enough, you're gonna score some points, right? And they're gonna start pressing, and then they make some mistakes. I promise you, when they come into Cowboy Stadium on Sunday, they're gonna try to run the ball down the Cowboys' throat. Everybody else has been successful. These are the type of things that you have to deal with when you have, it's just bad football business. That's what it is, and that's just honest. It is what it is, man. This is what we got. This is what we dealt with. Play the cards like you see them. What it is. All right. Philly week. Big rivalry game. Probably the biggest rivalry that we have. Nobody likes Philly. Philly don't like us. It just is what it is. Philly's coming in here. They just won a close game against a bad Jacksonville team, right? But your running back did hurt Ledoux backwards. That was phenomenal. Probably one of the best football players I've ever seen. They're going to come in here, and they're going to come in here on a high. And you're coming in on the low. You're not going to have your quarterback. You're probably not going to have your starting wide receiver. And if he is on the field, he's going to be in limited access. He'll probably catch a couple of passes, but they are trying to keep that shoulder as healthy as they possibly can because they understand that is their only offensive weapon that they have. And the only reason they probably going to, if he does play, the only reason he's probably going to take the field is because he's the only offensive weapon that they have. That's it. That's what you got. We'll talk about Philadelphia, what they do well, offensive and defensively. We'll talk about keys to victory for the Cowboys. And my keys to victory absolutely will have something to do with Trey Lance. It will, because this is the prime opportunity to let him come in and just work the magic that he has. And he may not be fantastic throwing the football, but he damn sure can run. And it won't be like Dak Prescott running and tearing hamstrings off bones because you haven't stretched like that in 2 years. He's gonna come out and give you a legitimate run threat from the quarterback position. We'll talk about all that on Saturday. Dallas Cowboy fans, just buckle up. It's gonna be pretty rough, But one thing about it is I'm gonna support them till the wheels fall off. They falling off right now. They wobbly as hell. But I'm gonna support them until they gone, and then I'm gonna support them while they putting the wheels back on it, and then I'm gonna support them when they start rolling again. And hopefully we got all the wheels straight on, and we rolling in a straight line, and we don't have to go back to the shop and get a steering alignment. Hopefully, but hell, we've been needing a damn steering alignment for 30 years. That's just being honest. All right, everybody. Cowboy C3, make sure you guys like, subscribe. I appreciate you sticking in here with me. Sports T, thanks for the comments. Appreciate you. I'll see you guys on Saturday. It's Dallas versus Philly this week. We need to be a little bit excited. All right. Thank you guys. You guys have a great night. See y'all soon. See you. Peace.